So what do you think of the new hat? Bought this over the weekend. When I bought it, it was just a plain old hat. Looked like all the other ones on the rack. So I decided to pull out the wood burning kit and give it a little flair, a little personality. Tomorrow, I'm headed to Denver for the release of the Born to Run Zero shoes, and then on to California for the Born to Run extravaganza put on by Luis Escobar. And that's going to be one heck of a time. And part of the mandatory gear for the race is a cowboy hat. So, this is my cowboy hat for the race. Things are starting to feel a little bit like spring out here in Jackson Hole, but not looking like spring. Still a lot of snow. It's going to be a while since I get on trails, but it should be about close to 60 today, so it's feeling pretty nice. Again, snow levels are still pretty high. Anyways, like I mentioned, I'm headed to Denver for our release of the Born to Run Zero Shoe collaboration. And if you haven't seen the release video I put out last week and one I'll put out tomorrow, here's the Born to Run Zero Shoe Mesa Trail 2. Got the little branded Born to Run logo on the back, but just an awesome shoe. I'll be doing a full review and how I'm going to use this shoe for my trail running. But just a beautiful shoe, very well made shoe. And then this is the Zalen Road shoe, Born to Run. Branded colors, branded logo, but very, very minimal road shoe that I'll use as a tool. But again, I'll get into a lot of this later, but just wanted to, if you haven't seen the reveal shoe video, here it is. Last week was our spring break and we went down to Denver and Boulder to visit family. And I spent 11 years in Denver back in the 90s, did a lot of triathlon racing, did a lot of racing during that time. And one of my stomping grounds was Washington Park, which is kind of the central park of Denver, if you're not familiar with Denver. And I lived about a half a mile warm up from Wash Park. And Wash Park has a 3.2 mile loop around the perimeter of the park. It's kind of a man-made trail, just flat, bare, really, really flat. But it always gave me a measuring stick of my training, my fitness, my aerobic engine, all that, because of that constant measurement of that loop. Whether it's doing 3 loops, 5 loops, 1 loop, I always had a measurement of how my fitness was. So I thought it would be fun when I was down there last week to visit Wash Park, little trip down memory lane, and see how my aerobic engine was relative to my data way back 20 years ago, when I was living in Denver. And so I, coming off winter, not in the highest level of shape, which is to be expected. We had a heavy winter. And just kind of did a lot of strength running during winter like I usually do on snow. And so it just, again, thought it would be fun just to kind of get a measurement to see how I stacked up now 20 years later than when I was living near Wash Park and doing this loop on a daily basis. So I just went to Wash Park, did a warm-up loop at 3 miles, and then I just settled into kind of a Zone 1, Zone 2. Felt great with the altitude because it's 1,000 feet lower than what I'm used to, so that felt great. And I nailed it to the minute of what I was used to running 20 years ago at a Zone 1, Zone 2 level of effort. So just kind of gave me a lot of confidence of just how I'm feeling right now and how much consistency and variety helps with how we age. And maybe how we can change our mindset about how we age as runners and what that can or can't mean, or what it should or shouldn't mean for performance. I also got to Boulder and ran at Chautauqua Park, which is just at the base of the Flatirons, and ran up to some of the Flatirons and some of the, it's a huge trail system in Boulder. It's kind of the most popular trail system for all the locals and tourists. So again, I thought it would be fun just to kind of go up and refresh my legs and my mind of how those trails used to feel to me and get a perspective of how I remember them to feel. You kind of think back when you're growing up at home, going through your formative years, and your backyard and your house always felt so big, and you remembered it to be so big, and everything was so grandiose growing up. And then when you go visit it again, it always seems a little bit smaller than you remember. And that's kind of what happened when I was in Boulder. It was like, oh, now I'm used to the Tetons, higher elevation, more vertical. And they didn't seem as challenging as I remember them. And again, it's just kind of confidence 20 years later. It's like, oh, this isn't as hard or challenging as I remember. And it was just really confidence boost to, again, how I'm aging as a runner, how we all age as runners, and what that can mean to always find that little way to keep improving, keep getting stronger as we age. Sitting in the backyard. And as you can see, it's the first official day running in shorts. It's about 50 degrees and it feels magnificent. We needed it. We had a monster winter, a record winter, over 500 inches of snow recorded on the mountain. But let's get back to aging. I want to do something a little different today. I'm short on time because I'm traveling tomorrow. And I'm just gonna, I wrote down a bunch of journal entries about aging and running. And I'm just gonna kind of read them off to give you something to think about, maybe ask questions about, and maybe we'll pick it up from there at another time. So here goes. Okay, we just talked about our monster winter. Number one journal entry is adding variety. I often talk about this and how it helps performance, but continuing to add variety to your running will combat aging. A lot of times, as we get older, we tend to maybe work a little bit more, do a little less activity in general, and this leads to tightness, less muscle activation. Therefore, we tend to blame that how we feel or how this makes us feel on aging, when in actuality, it's just less movement and less activity. Okay, think back when you first started to run. You did more, you added more volume, you ran longer runs. What happened? You got better, right? Okay. As we get older, we tend to lose that variety. Mentioned it before. Throughout my season, throughout my year, I'm running on snow, I'm running on pavement, I'm running at the track, I'm running on mountains. It's all variety for my body to continue to have to adapt throughout the season. So get back to that beginner's mindset of adding something new, doing something different so your body has to adapt. Counteract aging with variety. And then the negative to that is doing the same thing all the time is aging you. It's aging you as a runner, as an athlete. The quickest way to aging is to think you are. And with that, embrace the mindset. There's always a way to get better. Brain over brawn. As we get older, we get more experience. Use that to your advantage and take on the mindset that there's always a way to improve, always a way to get stronger, or there's always a way to combat aging or moving less. Another form of aging is losing excitement for your running. By remaining excited about your running, you look forward to the future. You remain excited about the future. And how do you do this? You continuously reinvent what running means to you. Whether that's tackling a new distance, short or longer, tackling a new goal. Always reinventing who you are as a runner will counteract that loss of excitement, or in this case, aging. My grandfather lived to be 101, and he always told me, Eric, once you stop dreaming, you start dying. And this one's a good one. Try to catch yourself. And it goes back to that excitement and reinvention. You age when you start looking more at the past than looking forward to the future. We're talking about running. Maybe it's in your job. Maybe it's in life in general. But try to catch yourself. If you start to think about the past more so than remaining excited about the future, that's aging. Reinvent yourself so you're really excited about the future, which gets you excited about right now. Got the birds chirping. Hope you guys can hear that. It's such a great sound. All right, we're diving into where this all starts to mingle together and get really, really good. Is that rituals and mantras are super, super important for athletes and success. And I think aging lacks rituals or self-discipline. We start to lose the rituals we used to have or that self-discipline that we used to have, and that ages us. We lose the excitement. We lose who we are as a runner. Look to bring that back. Create more self-discipline within your daily life, more rituals that you do every day, and see what that does for you. And we're going to pull it all together with this last one. Performance is about recovery. Taking rejuvenation time for the body and the mind. And when rejuvenated, the mind explores and gets excited again. If you don't get this rejuvenation, and I'm not talking about weekly recovery, monthly recovery, I'm talking seasonal recovery, or maybe various seasons of recovery. Maybe you had a 2 or 3 year hard push towards a Boston qualifier or a big goal, and our body needs to rejuvenate. But more importantly, our mind needs to rejuvenate. If we don't rejuvenate the mind, it gets tired. Our brain gets tired. And when our brain gets tired, it lacks excitement. It doesn't look forward to the future. It doesn't get excited about the future. It will keep you safe. It won't let you explore in your mind what that next big goal is. So let your body rejuvenate. To allow the brain to get excited, to reinvent, to add recovery, to add variety, everything that we're talking about here, it needs rejuvenation time. And I don't mean off time, it just means doing less, which is variety, right? If you're used to doing a lot up throughout the season, and now you're coming to the end of the season, another form of variety is doing less. Doing a bunch of 20-minute runs. Today I went out in shorts, I only had time for 20 minutes, and I loved it. But it was variety, because now I ran really, really hard in the sun that I haven't been able to do all winter. It was variety for me. But getting back to this rejuvenation, it's key for the brain to get rejuvenated so it will allow you to think big again, to get excited again, to combat aging. All right, I hope you enjoyed that format. It's what I had time for today, and sometimes that's what it's about. So I'm going to sign off over and out from the backyard. The mountains in the background, the sun of Jackson Hole finally. I'm off to Denver tomorrow and then on to California. Look for some reports from Denver and ultimately the Born to Run extravaganza in California. Can't wait to share all those events with you next week and once I get back. All right. That's all I got for you today. Throw down your questions as always. Over and out from Born to Run. See you guys next time.